focused. Yeah, how will we choose? We worship in spirit and truth. Stay focused. Don't be a fool. Study to show thyself approved. Stay focused. Israelite blood in my chest. The word manifested in flesh. Stay focused. Hebrews, we got next. So never abandon your post.
I was filled with the spirit of Odin, Thor, and Frey. They were familiar spirits. I embraced the true gods. The gods of my father. The gods of my people.
Let those who want to destroy us know this. You will never overcome Kattegat. We will always defeat you. The gods are with us. The gods love us. We are the people.
Which God? God. The one true God. There are many gods, my friend. What is the name of your God? There is only one God, and his name is God, and you too shall worship him. You want me to worship a God, but you don't want to tell me his name? What are you talking about? There are many gods, okay? There is Shiva, there is Lakshmi, there is Hare Krishna, there are many gods. What is the name of your God? His name is God. You don't know the name of your God? It's just God. Is it like mommy or daddy? You want me to worship your God, but you don't want me to tell me his name, huh? How am I going to pray to him? What do I do? Every morning I go to wake up and I pray like, oh, dear God, I was hoping that maybe God, you could help me. No, sorry, not you, other God. No, other God. No, not wrong God. No, God, I was trying to talk to other. No, you're right. I should have asked for her first name. No, God. No, other God, please. No, God behind that God. No, not you today, God. Other God. You're right. He told me he would know I was talking to, and I don't. No, other God, please. That God on that. No, that God. You. Then I wonder why my prayers are not getting answered, huh?
Now let's look at the third thing that each race received after the Most High separated the sons of Adam. Along with their own land and own language, each race or tribe received their own gods to rule over them. According to the Bible, every race was appointed their own gods by Yahuwah at the Tower of Babel. This is not taught to us in Christianity at all, despite the Bible's attempt to make this known. Despite the first commandment given to the Israelites is that they should not have any gods before Yah, which by default suggests that there are other gods. But the Bible would not be as useful to the Gentiles if the Gentiles were to show that each race has their own gods. Instead, the founders and leadership of Eurocentric Christianity decided to go with the narrative that there is only one God. In order to achieve this goal, they had to teach that the other gods mentioned in the Bible, like Baal, Moloch, and the Prince of Persia, and the Prince of Grecia, were figments of the Gentiles' imagination. The Gentiles thought that their idols and images were gods, but were really not gods, but inanimate objects that couldn't eat, see, or smell. That they thought the sun, moon, stars, and celestial bodies in the heavens were gods in their ignorance. That the people were worshiping the creation and not the Creator, because the Creator had not revealed himself to them until Paul was sent to preach the gospel to the Gentiles. But is that true? Well, the Bible does speak a lot about man creating gods or idols out of wood, stone, gold, and silver. It even speaks on how foolish a man is that creates an idol with his own hands, such as in the book of Isaiah chapter 44. So yes, The Bible was saying that those carvings were not gods, but it was not saying that there weren't any other gods. Sometimes man goes too far in their religious practices and start worshiping wood and stone, while others of the same faith as that man might understand that the carved idols are only representations of the gods that they were made for, but are not the actual gods. The same thing occurs amongst the Christians. Take the cross that the Christian wears for an example. There are some people who sees the cross as only a representation of Christ. They don't believe that the cross itself has any special powers, that it doesn't bring you luck or offers anyone any protection, but merely shows that you follow Christianity. Some can wear the cross without worshiping the cross, while others can completely worship the cross, which in turn would make it a god, a vain god that can't eat, see, or smell, a vain god that was created by man's hands. These people will bow down before the cross, hold the cross so sacred that they are even scared to drop it on the ground. Some even believe that it has powers to thwart off evil and vampires. Some place it on their doors and on their foreheads, not for the sake of art, but to thwart off any evil forces. They have made that image a god. The same can be said about the Kaaba stone as well. A follower of Islam may believe that he must make a trip to Mecca to kiss the stone at least once in his lifetime, while another practitioner of the Muslim faith would put his faith in the God of his fathers, Allah, whether he ever sees the stone in his lifetime or not. The former has made a god out of the Kaaba stone. You also have several forms of Catholicism that hold things sacred like beads, statues, and candles. These people have placed powers and superstitions on objects created by man's hands, therefore creating gods that can't see, eat, or smell. But that does not negate the gods that can eat, drink, and smell, mentioned throughout the Bible. We have to be able to differentiate between the two. Well, really three, because there were also to be new gods that came newly up. But before we can be able to tell the difference, we have to know what a god is first. We'll get to that in a second. Let's go back to Genesis 32, verses 7 through 8, where it says to remember the days of old, when the Most High divided the nations their inheritance. We have shown how the sons of Noah received their own lands that they divided amongst their sons. They also received their own languages when the Most High confounded their one world language. Let us look at chapter 4 of the book of Deuteronomy to see what else was given to the sons of Adam as their inheritance. Before the Most High brought the children of Israel into the land of their inheritance, he warned them to not be like the nations who dwelt there before them. He told the children of Israel to not worship the things that were given to the nations to worship. Let's read some verses out of Deuteronomy chapter 4 to get more understanding. Let's read verses 15 through 20, which reads, Take ye therefore good heed unto yourselves, for ye saw no manner of similitude on the day that Yah spake unto you in Horeb out of the midst of the fire, lest ye corrupt yourselves, and make you a graven image, the similitude of any figure, the likeness of male or female, the likeness of any beast that is on the earth, the likeness of any winged fowl that flieth in the air, the likeness of anything that creepeth on the ground, the likeness of any fish that is in the waters beneath the earth. And lest thou lift up thine eyes unto heaven, and when thou seest the sun, and the moon, and the stars, even all the host of heaven, shouldest be driven to worship them, and serve them, which Yah, thy Elohim, have divided unto all nations under the whole heaven. But Yah has taken you, and brought you forth out of the iron furnace, even out of Egypt, to be unto him a people of inheritance, as you are this day. As the Most High warned Israel of what not to do in the land, he also told them to not worship the host of heaven, because he has divided them unto all the sons of Noah. The question that we must now ask is who or what are the host of heaven? The sun, moon, and stars are already mentioned. So what or who else are in the heavens? The book of 2 Chronicles, chapter 18, will tell us exactly who the host of heaven are. Let's look at the prophecy that Micaiah told Ahab, the king of Israel, when he wanted to go to war in Ramoth-Gilead. Micaiah told the king of Israel about a vision that was given to him. Again he said, "Therefore, hear the word of Yah. I saw Yahuwah sitting upon his throne, and all the host of heaven standing on his right hand and on his left. And Yah said, Who shall entice Ahab, king of Israel, that he may go up and fall at Ramoth-Gilead? And one spake, saying after this manner, and another saying after that manner. Then there came out a spirit, and stood before Yah, and said, I will entice him. And Yah said unto him, Wherewith? And he said, I will go out and be a lying spirit in the mouth of all his prophets. And Yah said, Thou shalt entice him, and thou shalt also prevail. Go out and do even so. Now, therefore, behold, Yah has put a lying spirit in the mouth of these thy prophets, and Yah has spoken evil against thee. As we see in 2 Chronicles chapter 18, that there are beings standing in Yah's council. Not only are these beings able to stand, but they are able to speak. So surely they can eat and smell. These beings are what the Bible calls the host of heaven. Another term used for these hosts of heaven in the Bible is the sons of God, like in the book of Job. Now there was a day when the sons of Yah came to present themselves before Yah, and Satan came also among them. And Yah said unto Satan, Whence comest thou? Then Satan answered Yah, and said, From going to and fro in the earth, and from walking up and down in it. In the book of Job, we see the sons of Yah, aka the hosts of heaven, having a congregation with Yah. At this time, Satan still had access to the heavens and came before Yah as well, showing that these sons of Yah are on the same level physically as Satan. So whatever it is you can imagine that Satan can do, these hosts of heaven could do as well. At the very least, something similar. So when we go back to Deuteronomy chapter 4, we now know that the host of heaven that Yah divided unto all the nations or races of the earth are living beings standing in Yah's congregation at one point or another, using line upon line. These hosts of heaven were given to the other sons of Adam to be worshipped. Now verse 20 of Deuteronomy chapter 4 makes even more sense when it says that Yah has taken you, the children of Israel, unto him. Yah is who the children of Israel shall worship, while the other races will worship the gods given to them. Remember back in the book of Genesis, when Yah had confounded the languages of the sons of Noah and divided them into 70 nations? In chapter 11, verse 7, he said, to let us go down and confound the sons of Noah's language. Well, according to the book of Jasher, those us were the 70 angels or mighty ones who stood foremost before him. These 70 angels were made gods or lords over the sons of Noah. This matches perfectly with the number of 70 sons of Noah according to Genesis chapter 10. The book of Jubilees also confirms that each nation or race were given their own gods, becoming a third witness. First, we proved it in the Bible, then witnessed it in the book of Jasher. Now let's read it in the book of Jubilees. Jubilees chapter 50, verses 30 through 32 reads, For Ishmael and his sons and his brothers and Esau, Yah did not cause to approach him, and he chose them not because they are the children of Abram, because he knew them, but he chose Israel to be his people, and he sanctified it, and gathered it from amongst all the children of men. For there are many nations, and many people, and all are his, and over all has he placed spirits in authority to lead them astray from him. But over Israel he did not appoint any angel or spirit, for he alone is their ruler, and he will preserve them and require them at the hand of his angels and his spirits, and at the hand of all his powers, in order that he may preserve them and bless them, and that they may be his, and he may be theirs from henceforth forever. The book of Jubilees said that though all are his, meaning Yah is the creator of everyone, he personally appointed spirits of authority over them all, meaning all the races or tribes received the spirit and authority of each race. This is what a god is. The mighty ones who has authority over all the races, the nation's spiritual rulers. These are the hosts of heaven, the gods of the Gentiles, not to be confused with the creator of the Gentiles. These beings were to lead the Gentiles away from Yah. Why? Because they wanted to make war with Yah, kill Yah, and place their own gods in Yah's place. This is why they built the tower. This is also why he said, Behold, the people are of one language, and this is what they do. Then he confounded their language and scattered them across the earth, giving each one their own boundaries and land to go with their new languages. He also gave them their own gods to rule over them. But the Creator did not place any angels or spirits over the children of Israel, for he alone is their ruler or God. He will preserve them and require them at the hand of his angels and spirits like Michael, his mighty ones like Yeshua. This is why the Creator is the Most High God, because he is the spiritual ruler over the spiritual rulers that he has placed over the nations or races, thus him having the authority to appoint them over the Gentiles. The book of Nehemiah confirms that Yah is the Most High God, being that he is the God of all the other gods, when it tells us that the hosts of heaven, aka gods of the Gentiles, worship or follow Yah's orders. And the book of John is our third witness to this. In chapter 20, verse 17, Yeshua, who is also a mighty one and son of Yah, tells his brethren not to touch him because he has yet to ascend unto his God. Yeshua reconfirms that even he has a God above him in the book of Revelation, chapter 3, when he says that he would make the ones who overcome a pillar in the temple of his God, and he will write upon him the name of his God and the city of his God, when New Jerusalem is sent down from his God. Everyone answers to somebody, including the mighty ones. Only Yah stands alone, with no one above him and no one on his level, the top of the pyramid, like the gods of Egypt claim to be, the father of us all, like Zeus and Odin claim to be. It's not just Satan who wishes to be like the Most High, but some of these other gods do as well. Isaiah chapter 14 tells us of how Lucifer, the son of the morning, said in his heart that he shall be like the Most High. but shall be brought down to the pits of hell. We all know that Lucifer is a devil, or adversary, or enemy of the Most High, but he wasn't always an enemy of Yah. We all know that he rebelled against Yah, but he wasn't the only one. In the book of Ezekiel, chapter 28, the Most High calls out the king of Tyrus and proclaims judgment upon him. At first, one might think that the king of Tyrus is a man, but in verse 2, Yah says that the king of Tyrus had once been in the Garden of Eden, covered with precious stones. Surely this is not a man who once walked in the Garden of Eden and is now still alive to receive a message during the days of Ezekiel. Verse 14 goes on to say that the king of Tyrus is an anointed cherub that once sat upon the mountain of God. This cherub was perfect until iniquity was found in him. A once cherished cherub had become an enemy of Yah. Therefore, he was also cast out of the mountain of Yah, the same way Lucifer was. The king of Tyrus' heart was lifted up, causing him to think that he was the Most High. Therefore, Yah swore to cast him to the ground. A lot of people think that this king of Tyrus is Lucifer. I myself once thought that as well. But with further studying, I learned who this king of Tyrus is. According to the king's list of the ancient city of Tyr, or Tyrus, the first king, whose name was Agenor, claimed to be a descendant of Poseidon. Poseidon is the god of Tyr and its sister city, Sidon. Both of these cities are talked about in Ezekiel chapter 28 and are said to have been founded by two of the many sons of Poseidon.
Hello and welcome to World History Encyclopedia. My name is Kelly and today's video is all about one of the oldest gods of the Greek pantheon and a deity whose domain fell over the seas, horses and earthquakes. Yes, today we are talking about the great Greek god Poseidon, who among his many attributes inspired modern day movies. Poseidon in ancient Greek mythology was the god of the sea, horses, earthquakes and storms, floods and droughts, and was also a protector of mariners. Due to his governance over natural disasters like storms and floods, Poseidon was probably the most destructive of the gods, although he wasn't necessarily always a negative force. Poseidon was also associated with horses as the patron of horses and horse breeding, and to the Romans he was known as Neptune. Poseidon is one of the Greek deities with the longest history, as cults to him date back to the Mycenaean period during the Bronze Age, between circa 3300 to 1200 BCE. The three sons of Kronos, Zeus, Hades and Poseidon, drew lots to decide which domain they would rule over. Zeus got the heavens, Hades got the underworld, and Poseidon was granted the seas. Poseidon is commonly depicted in art as a bearded, mature man, and is often brandishing his three-pointed trident, a weapon that was crafted for him by the Cyclops. This trident could be used by Poseidon to create earthquakes by striking it against the ground. He is also often depicted in his chariot pulled by half-horse, half-serpent creatures called hippocamps. Poseidon is one of the oldest Greek deities and was worshipped prior to the Archaic and Classical Greek periods. His popularity is most likely due to the importance of seafaring in the Mycenaean culture, and so it's no surprise that Poseidon was one of their most important deities, and cults to the god have been referenced in ancient Greek texts such as Linear B inscriptions from sites like Pylos and Knossos. We also know that the city of Pylos, best known as the home of Nestor, one of the Greeks from the Trojan War, worshipped Poseidon as its main god and had a priestess as the head of his cult. Another important site to the god is the Temple of Poseidon at Sunion that towered over ships entering the Saronic Gulf and dates to the 5th century BCE. Here, Poseidon was honoured by boat races that were held every 4 years. Despite losing to Athena in the contest for Athens, Poseidon was still honoured in the city with the annual Poseidae festival, although the festival did have more to do with agriculture than the sea. Although Poseidon was the god of earthquakes, he was also seen as the protector during earthquakes, and it was as his protective aspect, known as Poseidon Asphalios, that a temple to him was built at Rhodes. There was also an unusual rite enacted at Onchestus in Boeotia, where there was an important sanctuary dedicated to Poseidon, where horses would pull riderless chariots, and when one of them crashed, the chariot would be dedicated to the god. Fishers and mariners throughout the Greek world made votive offerings to Poseidon for protection, and his cult worshippers would often sacrifice bulls, stallions, and male sheep to him. His fame as a powerful god of the ancient world may have faded, but in the modern age his name is still remembered from movies such as The Poseidon Adventure, Poseidon, and various TV shows and documentaries.
Aquaman, swift and powerful monarch of the oceans, with ability to summon and command all creatures of the deep. Aquaman, who with his teenage ally, Aqualad, guards and defends all that lives in the seas against the forces of evil. Aquaman, king of the seven seas.
So Yah wasn't talking to a mere mortal. Yah was talking to one of his chief cherubs that Yah himself appointed to rule over a certain race or tribe of people. People built him temples that still stand to this day. Although they said he is no longer worshipped, you can still find cults in Grecia that still worships him. On top of that, he has cartoons and movies made in honor of him. Little children dress up as him for Halloween. He even have a planet named after him called Neptune. But this cherub rebelled and became an enemy of Yah, just like Lucifer. But Lucifer and Poseidon are the only ones who rebelled against Yah. Many gods turned their backs to him, to the point Yah wrote an entire chapter dedicated to those rebellious gods. Yah standeth in the congregation of the mighty. He judgeth among the gods. How long will you judge unjustly and accept the persons of the wicked? Selah. Defend the poor and fatherless. Do justice to the afflicted and needy. Deliver the poor and needy. Rid them out of the hand of the wicked. They know not, neither will they understand. They walk on in darkness. All the foundations of the earth are out of course. I have said, ye are gods, and all of you are the children of the Most High. But ye shall die like men, and fall like one of the princes. Arise, O Yah, judge the earth, for thou shalt inherit all nations. The book of Psalms, chapter 110, talks about the enemies of Yeshua. David writes, "The Lord or Master said unto my Lord or Master, sit thou at my right hand till I make thy enemies thy footstool." A God is a spiritual ruler or master or Lord. So this could be read, the God or highest God said unto my God, I will make thine enemies thy footstool. Who are the enemies that Yeshua needs to put under his feet? Surely they are not man. Yeshua is a mighty one. His enemies must be mighty ones as well. In the book of Revelation, chapter 6, John talks about two of Yeshua's enemies emerging when the fourth seal is broken. Then on a pale horse, he sees a rider named Death, and another rider named Hell that follows him. Christianity doesn't teach you that these riders, Death and Hell, are actually gods, but they are. This is why these names are capitalized. The English word death is thanatos in the Greek, and the English word hell is Hades in the Greek. Thanatos is a Greek god who is the personification of death. Its strong number is G22 88. It is derived from the root word thanasko, which is G2348 in the Strongs. Thanasko, Strong's G2348, comes from the even simpler primary word Thanos. According to Greek mythology, Thanatos or Thanos appears to humans once they have reached their fate or final destination in life to carry them off to the underworld. Early depictions go back to 515 BC. That's 500 years before Christ walked this earth. Notice how the 3rd century depiction of him looks like our modern depictions of angels and cherubims. The Gentiles were already depicting their gods as winged beings from the heavens in every culture before getting their hands on the Hebrews' writings. This bust was made almost a half of a millennium prior to the book of Revelation being written. The Greek god Thanatos is equivalent to the Roman god Mars, who is also known as Mars. So this being, whose name is Death in the English, has a planet as well as the month of March named after him. This being, or host of heaven, is one of the last of Christ's enemies to be defeated. Death is a powerful being that has the power to take life. He is one of the most feared gods in the Grecians' pantheon of gods. A god that no one wanted to meet, and if you do, you would know that your fate had been sealed. Thanatos, or Thanos, is also known as the Angel of Death. He is said to be the invisible being that only a person on his or her deathbed can see, the one who comes to take them to the other side. He is also called the Grim Reaper and Collector of Souls, depicted in all sorts of modern media outlets and believed to be a physical being and not a figment of one's imagination. He has been depicted throughout movies and hip-hop videos, and this whole time we never knew that what they were showing us was the Angel of Death, or Thanos, who is one of Christ's last enemies. Death, or Thanos in the Greek, is followed closely by Hell, who is Hades in the Greek. Hades is the god of the dead and the king of the underworld. Thanos is said to be the god who comes to collect your soul when you die. He will then bring you to the afterlife. It is believed that if your final destination is hell or the underworld, there you will be ruled over by Hades. Hades' name was changed to Pluto to differentiate him from his kingdom that bears the name Hades or Hell as well. Pluto, or Hades, is the god of the underworld and is listed as another one of Christ's last enemies to be defeated. So is Thanos and Hades just figments of John the Revelator's imagination? Or are they actual beings that will, in some form, do battle with Christ and his armies? This talk about gods fighting gods may be hard to imagine for some, but this is not only written in the book of Revelation, but throughout the entire Bible. In the book of Daniel, chapter 10, Daniel has an encounter with one of these hosts of heaven. Verse 5 describes this being as a man clothed in linen, but verse 6 makes it clear that this is no ordinary man. His face is the appearance of lightning, and his eyes as lamps of fire. If that wasn't enough to convince you that he was no ordinary man, verse 6 goes on to say that his voice was like a multitude of voices. So this definitely is not an ordinary man, but a host of heaven. This being tells Daniel that he was dispatched to him on the first day that Daniel set his heart to understand. but the prince of Persia withstood this being for 21 days. Surely this prince of Persia was not a mere man. No mortal can withstand a mighty one, to the point that this mighty one had to call upon Michael, one of the chief princes or mighty ones, to help him. The prince of Persia was a mighty one as well. That host of heaven was Ahura Mazda, who was given to the Iranian/Medes and Persians to be worshipped. Ahura Mazda is one of the gods set over the sons of Maadai to be their spiritual authority or god. What is interesting is that Daniel was one of the Israelites carried away to Babylon. At the time of this story, Daniel was still under the rule of the Babylonians and their god Nabu, whom Nebuchadnezzar was named after. But it was the god of the Persians who stopped the mighty angel that was dispatched to speak with Daniel. Now, history tells us that the Medes and Persians conquered Babylon, becoming the next largest empire and world leader close to the end of the 5th century BC. So Mazda must have defeated Nabu and claimed those lands for himself. This is another example of gods fighting against other gods. Later in chapter 10 of the book of Daniel, the mighty one that was dispatched to Daniel tells Daniel that he must return to fight with the prince of Persia, or god of Persia, to help Michael, who is Daniel's prince. He also tells Daniel that after that, the prince of Grecia shall come, or the god of Grecia shall come. The prince or god of Grecia at that time was Zeus. History proves that the Persians were conquered by the Grecians, who then became the largest empire in the world and world leaders. They are the ones who Hellenized the world, which means Zeus, who is the prince or god of the Grecians, must have defeated Ahura Mazda, who was the prince or god of the Medes and Persians. Now, one might ask that if the prince of Persia means the god of the Persians, and the prince of Grecia means the god of the Greeks, then does Michael, being Daniel's prince, mean that Michael is the god of the Hebrews? Remember that the book of Jubilees told us that Yah had not placed angels or hosts of heaven to be Israel's God, that he alone was Israel's God. But he will require them at the hands of his powers or mighty ones, meaning that the mighty ones who are loyal to Yahuwah are the ones who will fight for Israel. But they are not Israel's gods, because Israel does not have a pantheon of gods like the other races. Yah alone is their ruler. But the word prince certainly refers to a god in this text. In the book of John, chapter 14, Christ says in red letters how he will not be able to talk much with his disciples because the prince of this world comes, or the god of this world comes. In chapter 16, he tells his disciples how the prince or god of this world will be judged. In the book of Ephesians, chapter 2, it speaks on how the prince of power of the air, or god of the air, is a spirit that worketh disobedience. All of these verses are referring to Satan, who is the god or prince of this world. So you have a god who is in control of the world. You have a god in control of death, a god in control of the underworld, as well as gods in charge of races or nations or tribes of the earth. This is really the main thing that Yah wanted the children of Israel to remember of the days of old in Deuteronomy chapter 32, that each race has their own gods, and Yah is the children of Israel's God. According to the book of Judges, Dagon is the god of the Philistines. When Delilah was able to trick Samson into cutting his hair, the Philistines were now able to capture him, and when they did, they rejoiced and made sacrifice unto their god Dagon, and gave him all praises for delivering their enemy into their hands. In the book of 1 Kings, Yah said that the children of Israel forsaken him and started to worship Ashtoreth, the goddess of the Zidonians, who was also known as Astarte and Ishtar. This is who was worshipped on Easter Sunday. Chemosh, the god of the Moabites, and Milcom, or Molech, the god of the children of Ammon. These are actual carvings and images of these gods that still exist today. You can go and visit them. Now, I ask you, were these gods real, or were they figments of the nation's imaginations? Was Paul sent to the Gentiles to tell them that they were worshiping something that doesn't exist, and he was there to preach the gospel of the true God unto them? Because in the book of Acts, Paul and Barnabas visits Lystra, a city of the Lycaonians, and the people there thought Paul and Barnabas was the gods of their fathers come down from heaven to earth. They called Barnabas Jupiter, and they called Paul Mercurius. These were the gods of their fathers. They had temples, altars, and instructions on how to worship their gods. Their priests made sacrifices to their gods, the same way the Philistines made sacrifices to Dagon. Remember in the book of Jeremiah, when Yah asked, has a nation changed their gods, and how only Israel changed their God? Earlier in this video, I showed how Eurocentric Christianity spread across the earth. I also showed how these white-skinned Europeans, who are responsible for this, only pretend to worship the God of Israel, but in reality continue to worship the gods of their fathers. The Romans had a father and son in a polytheistic pantheon like all the other sons of Noah, meaning having a god of the skies, a god of war, a god of the underworld, a goddess for love and agriculture, and so on and so forth. Jupiter was the king of the gods, or lord of lords, according to the Romans. One of Jupiter's sons is Mercury, who is basically the god of money or fortunes in the Roman pantheon. Not only does these gods have planets named after them, but they also had days named after them. In Roman times, the 5th day of the week was called Jovis Deus. Now it's named after the Nordic god Thor, to give you Thor's Day. While the 4th day of the week was called Mercury Deus, but is now called by Thor's father, Odin, or Woden, giving you Woden's Day. Jupiter even has a wife named Juno, who was the queen of gods and the queen of heaven, according to the Romans and their fathers. She is who the month of June is named after. So 2,000 years after Paul goes to Lystra, the children of those white-skinned Europeans continue to worship the gods of their fathers. The white-skinned Europeans of today are basically a mixture of Greek, Roman, Germanic, and Nordic people, and the gods of their fathers are still worshipped today. They have not forsaken their gods, just like the Bible said that they wouldn't. The days of the week, the months of the year, and the planets in the sky are all named in honor of the gods of their fathers. Remember earlier in this video when I showed that only 30% of the world follow the Bible, specifically the New Testament. This includes Catholic Christians and all the branches of Protestant Christians, from Baptists to Jehovah's Witnesses. The blue on this screen, that is 30% of the world's population, represents religion started by and participated by the white-skinned Europeans. For the most part, the white-skinned nations are the only ones to follow those religions in the blue, along with the other races that they have forced by the sword, the threat of slavery, and the threat of death to convert. But this 30% is an inflated number if these people really worship the gods of their fathers while claiming to be followers of Christ, if that is what Christianity means. But if they were really followers of Christ, then they would be followers of Yah. And if they were followers of Yah, then they wouldn't have any other gods before Yah. They would have forsaken the gods of their fathers And the days of the week, the months of the year, and the planets of the sky would not still be named after the gods of their fathers. They would have changed those names. The holidays that they keep would not be in the honor of Ishtar and Jupiter and Janus and etc., but instead they would keep the holy days declared by the God of Israel. But they know that the God of Israel is not their God, like the other 70% of the world knows, and just as the Bible says. This is reiterated in Ecclesiasticus chapter 17, giving us a fourth witness, when it says that when the nations were divided, he set a ruler or God over every people /tribe/race. In the days of old, this was well known by the Israelites. That's why in the book of Deuteronomy, they declared that their rock is not as our rock, meaning that the gods of the Gentiles are not the same as the God of the Israelites. In the book of 1 Samuel, Hanan said in his prayer that there isn't any rock like our God, meaning that none of the Gentiles' gods are like the Israelites' God. All the Gentiles had a pantheon of gods, who seemed to be mostly made up of the children of the initial gods that were appointed over them at the Tower of Babel. All the cultures were polytheistic back then, meaning they worshipped more than one god. They would normally have a chief god who would have a wife and children. Each one of these gods, goddesses, and their offsprings would be designated on things like the sky or weather, water, crops, war, love, finance, etc. Who you prayed to depended on what you were seeking, and each race had pantheons such as this, except for the Israelites, who were henotheistic. People have mistaken them to be monotheistic, meaning that there was only one God overall. But in reality, they were henotheistic, which is the belief of there being many gods, but a people or person or tribe only adheres or answers to one. This is what the Israelites were. While the Gentiles pray to their sky gods for rain, and their underworld gods to have mercy on them when they die, and their agriculture gods to produce crop, and their gods, to give them victory in war, the children of Israel prayed to only one God for all those things. The God of Israel is the children of Israel's only ruler. The God of Israel is one, meaning they went to him in want of all things. He was the one who would do them good or bad. He brought them rain, and he brought the drought. He caused the crop to grow or to not grow. He governs their spirits on the earth and in the underworld, and he causes them to either have victory or to be delivered in the hands of their enemies. He and he alone does all these things for Israel. There is no other God for Israel to delegate these authorities to. Yeshua shall be given authority over Israel to rule as their king. He shall also inherit all nations. But even he never said to pray to him for all those things. He said to pray to his Father in his name or authority. But it is Yah that provides the rain, crops, seas, and underworld for the Hebrews. King David confirms this in Psalms 139 when he says, "If I ascend into the heavens, you are there, because Yah is the Hebrews' God in the sky. If I make my bed in hell, thou art there, because Yah is the Hebrew God of the underworld. If I dwell in the uttermost parts of the sea, even there thou shalt lead me, because Yah is the Hebrews' God of the sea." This is the covenant established with Abram when the Most High brought him out of the land of Ur, that he would be his and his children's God, that he was going to give him his land that Canaan took many generations before Abram was born, and be the God of Abram's descendants, just like all the other sons of Noah received their own land, their own languages, and their own God, given to them by the Creator. Then the creator of everybody made a covenant with Abram and his descendants through Isaac and Jacob to put them in his land and take them as his people, becoming their God, and they his people that he shall rule over. In his land he shall dwell among the children of Israel and be their God. The Israelites knew that Yah, who brought them out of the land of Egypt to be a peculiar people unto him, was their God, while the rest of the nations of the earth had their own gods. The other nations knew this as well. Now all 70 gods of the Gentiles aren't mentioned in the Bible, nor are the new gods that shall come newly up. But the gods that are mentioned have become Yah's enemies. This is why he has declared war against them. He shall do battle with them, like he did with the gods of Egypt. He promised that, though he said they were gods, that they all shall die like men. And just like the gods of Egypt, all the other gods listed in the Bible are the gods of the people whom either took the children of Israel as slaves, or made war with the children of Israel, or tricked them into worshiping their gods, causing the wrath of Yah to come down on the Israelites and place them under the curses for worshiping other gods. There was a time when everyone knew that each race had their own gods, including the Israelites. In the book of Exodus, Pharaoh's advisor had warned him to let the children of Israel go and worship their God. But Pharaoh's heart was hardened, and he wouldn't listen, resulting of the loss of their firstborns across the land, and for judgment to come down on all the gods of Egypt. The book of 1 Kings tells the story of the children of Israel at war with the Syrians. After losing a major battle to the Israelites, the king of Assyria's advisors tell him that the only reason why the Israelites won was because their God was a God of hills. And since the battle was on a hill, was the only reason why Israel was stronger. This caused Yah to tell the king of Israel that because the Syrians said that he is only a God of the hills, he will deliver a multitude of the Syrians to the Israelites in the valley as well. But the point of this is that the Syrians knew that Israel had another God than them. In the book of Numbers, Balak, the king of Moab, goes to a seer named Balaam to find out how to put a curse on the children of Israel. After receiving a vision from Yah, Balaam tells the king Balak that he can only bless Israel and cannot reverse it because Yah has not found any iniquity in the Israelites. Therefore, their God Yahuwah is with them. And because there isn't any sin found among them, there isn't any enchantment or divination that shall work against them. Balaam goes on to tell the king Balak how a star or mighty one should come out of the children of Israel, that shall smite the corners of Moab and destroy all the children of Sheth. He shall also take Edom and Seir as a possession and slaves. That this star that should come out of Israel will have dominion over the entire earth. So the Moabites, like the Syrians and the Egyptians, knew who the Israelites were and who their God was. The Babylonians knew as well. In the book of Daniel, King Nebuchadnezzar confesses to Daniel that the God of the Israelites is the God of gods. The Greeks also knew. In the book of 2 Maccabees, King Ptolemy sent an old man to convince the children of Israel to forsake the God of their fathers and his laws. They even went as far as declaring it illegal to call themselves a Jew. The Romans took similar method to get the children of Israel to sin against their God. See, once Balak was told by Balaam how to put enchantments and divinations on the children of Israel, word spread fast, especially after hearing about the things that Israel was prophesied to do. The king of Moab immediately took action. The men of Israel started sleeping with the Moabite women. Those Moabite women convinced those men to sacrifice unto their God. The Israelite men ignored the command to not give their sons and daughters to the Gentiles for marriage, because the Gentiles were going to convince the children of Israel to worship their gods. And that's what these men did. and joined themselves to Baal Peor, another god in the Moabites' pantheon. This caused Yah to become angry with the children of Israel, and 24,000 Israelites had their heads cut off and put on a pole because of this, by orders of Yah, their God. Since then, all of Israel's enemies tried to do the same thing in some shape or form. King Nebuchadnezzar would follow suit and command the Israelites, as well as the rest of the world, that when they hear the sound of the music, to bow down and worship the golden image of his God. Now this order or command was given to all the nations that Nebuchadnezzar ruled over. But make no mistake, this was meant for all the tribes of Israel. The nations knew then, as they know today, that as long as the children of Israel are in good standings with their God, they cannot be defeated, oppressed, or ruled over. Nor can any divination or enchantments work against them. So, if the children of Israel will not worship any other god, then Nebuchadnezzar nor any other world leaders can rule over them. The Gentile rulers who wish to rule over the entire world can only do so if the Israelites break the covenant with their God by worshiping other gods. See, the covenant that Yah made with the children of Israel is that he would be their only God, and they shall be his people. It's really that simple. But I had to show you that all the sons of Noah received their own gods, as well as their own language and their own land. See, there's an old song written by a group called Tears for Fears that says, "Everybody wants to rule the world." The lyrics to that part of the song cannot be denied. We see it even today with wars and rumors of wars, nations against nations or tribes against tribes. And just because some people have the same skin complexion doesn't mean that they are from the same tribe. There's a fierce competition for world dominion, and it is only made possible because Israel isn't in good standings with their God, or else they would be ruling. But they haven't ruled even themselves, let alone the world, for the past 2,500 years. And that's because they have been worshiping other gods since the days of King Solomon, and we continue to do so today. This is why the priest of Yah was begging Yah to save us from the heathens that rule over us. He said the Gentiles taunt us by asking, "Where is our God?" You know, I read that as, "Nah, nah, 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 where is your God?" Or like, "Where's your weak God at now, Israel? We kicking y'all's tail." In the book of Psalm 79, the Israelites are asking their God to help them and to save them from the Gentiles. And the Gentiles are steady talking trash like, "Where's the Israelites' God at? Tell him to come show his face and come and revenge his people that we're putting to slaughter to." The Israelites were getting their butts handed to them back then, the same way we are being destroyed today. But again, the only way that this is made possible is by the Israelites being in sin with their God for worshiping other gods, the same way we do today. So not only did he take his hedge of protection from the Israelites, but he sold them to their enemies. Yah said, "How should one chase 1,000 and two put 10,000 to flight, except their rock or God had sold them?" Because Israel sacrificed to devils, and that's plural, to gods that they knew not, to new gods. They became unmindful of the rock that brought them out of Egypt, and forgotten the God that formed them. So Yah judged this people and said, "Where are those gods that they were sacrificing to? Those rocks in whom they trusted? Let them come save them." But why would the Gentiles' God save the Israelites that they are in competition with to rule the world? Think of what happened at the Tower of Babel as something similar to the NFL draft. In the NFL, you have 32 teams selecting players that will make up their team to compete with each other. That's basically what happened at the Tower of Babel. But instead of 32 teams, you have 70 gods, plus Yahuwah. And instead of these gods picking up players to make up their team, they were given a team of people or a race of people by Yahuwah, who is the owner of the league. Now, when a player is drafted in the NFL, he is moved to the land where his team dwells. He is given a uniform, a playbook / Bible / oral traditions, and is briefed on the rules of the team and the stadium. The same thing happened at the Tower of Babel. The people were put on teams, sent to the land that their team occupies, and given instructions on the rules of the land and how to worship their gods. This is the covenant that Yah made with the children of Israel, that he would be their coach, and they shall be his players, or that he shall be their God, or spiritual leader, and they shall be his people. And the biggest rule of his land and stadium is that the Israelites shall not listen to any of the coaches or the other teams, nor run plays out of those other coaches' playbooks. Your coach is expecting you to run a deep pass play, but you are listening to the other coaches telling you to punt. How can you ever be victorious without listening to your coach? Not to mention that the coach of the Israelites is the owner of the league. So all they have to do is listen to him, and the Super Bowl trophy and being named world champions is guaranteed. Back-to-back championships forever. Now you can understand why the other coaches want the Israelites to disobey their coach, so that the other teams can have a shot at being world champs and having a Super Bowl trophy. But none of that is possible unless they could get Yah's players to switch coaches. That is what the covenant is when using line upon line. That Yah shall be our coach, and we shall be his players. Starting with Jeremiah 31, which reads, "But this shall be the covenant that I will make with the house of Israel after those days, saith Yah. I will put my law in their inward parts, and write it in their hearts, and will be their God, and they shall be my people." Jeremiah 24:7, "And I will give them in heart to know me, that I am Yah, and they shall be my people, and I will be their God. For they shall return unto me with their whole heart." 1 Chronicles 17:9. "Also, I will ordain a place for my people, Israel, and will plant them, and they shall dwell in their place, and shall be moved no more. Neither shall the children of wickedness waste them any more, as at the beginning." Jeremiah 31:1. "At the same time, saith Yah, will I be the God of all the families of Israel, and they shall be my people." Ezekiel 27:23. "Neither shall they defile themselves any more with their idols, nor with their detestable things, nor with any of their transgressions, but I will save them out of all their dwelling places wherein they have sinned, and I will cleanse them. So shall they be my people, and I will be their God." Ezekiel 37:27. "My tabernacle also shall be with them, yea, I will be their God, and they shall be my people." Ezekiel 11:20. "That they may walk in my statutes, and keep my ordinance, and do them, and they shall be my people, and I will be their God." That's the covenant that our ancestors made when they signed the contract with blood before Moses and said, "All that Yah has spoken, we will do." That he will be our coach, and we shall be his players. Or he shall be our God, and we shall be his people. I know that a lot of people think that the covenant is things like, "I shall make you above all nations," and "you shall be the head and not the tail." But these are merely perks of the covenant or contract. It's like a covenant between a husband and a wife. He shall be her husband, and she shall be his wife. That's the contract. The perks or that she honors, obey, and cherish her husband through sickness and health, rich or poor, till death do they part. In return, he will honor, protect, and provide for her. If she doesn't do her part, then he has the right to divorce her and put her away. But until he decides to do that, the contract still stands, and she is his wife and he her husband. The protection and provision is her benefit or perk for being his wife. But the actual covenant is he being her husband and she being his wife, while all the other husbands or gods have their own wives or people, and vice versa. This is important to remember because most people today thinks that there's only one God and Satan on this earth, plus God's only son and some demons running around on earth. When a Christian sees someone worshiping Zeus, they think that Zeus is really the devil in disguise. Or the people who worship Shiva or Buddha or Allah are actually worshiping the devil in disguise. When the reality is that Zeus is Zeus and is not Lucifer. Shiva is Shiva. Buddha is Buddha. And Allah is Allah. These aren't the devil in disguise, but these are the gods that were given to those people to be worshipped by the Creator. Knowing that every race has their own God will help you to avoid the biggest trick in the world soon to come upon the earth. Today, people are trying to convince others that we all worship the same God, but we all just call him by a different name, like, whether it be Yahuwah, Allah, or Zeus. But, that is a stone-faced lie. Knowing and remembering this should help you to avoid worshiping the beast whom the whole world will worship in the end, according to the book of Revelation. But knowing that their rock is not like our rock, and that each race has their own God, will help you to avoid that. Now, if you are just now learning the lesson in this video and is not sure or is wondering who your God is, my suggestion to you is to start with looking for the God that looks like you. If the God whom you think is your God doesn't look like you, then there's a high chance that isn't your God. Now, through my own personal studies, of all the gods of the nations, there is only one who is described to have hair like pure wool. His only begotten son also has hair like wool and feet like burnt brass. Now, if you are a woolly-haired person with feet of burnt brass or something similar, chances are that the God in the Bible is your God. At the very least, that should be the first place you should start to look when looking for your God. You should start with looking for the God who looks like you. Zeus looks like his people. Buddha looks like his people. Odin and Thor, they look like their people. Just like Krishna look like his people. You should find your God or coach and read out of his playbook if he has one. Be a real team player like the Gentiles are and stay loyal to your coach. Now, family, I hope this video is able to help someone understand what the covenant is. I'm sorry that it had to be this long, but all this was necessary to make clear that Yah is the Israelites' God and none else. All the other races have their own God in charge of their team. You can't be on Team Yah while wearing an Odin jersey or reading out of Allah's playbook, because Yah doesn't run the same plays as Allah. I pray that everyone reports to their head coach. learn the playbook, and practice the plays. But until that day comes, I pray that those of us who are on Yah's team stay safe, stay prayed up, and if you don't do anything else, stay focused. Oh, and for all the people who are on different teams than us and have different coaches than us, I would like to sing this song for y'all. We ready, we ready, we ready for y'all. We ready, we ready, we ready, you ready, we ready for y'all.
Stay focused. Yahweh we choose, we worship in spirit and truth. Stay focused, don't be a fool. Study to show thyself approved. Stay focused, it's like blood in my chest. The word manifested in flesh. Stay focused, Hebrew we got next. I preach the Mikhails and eggs. Stay focused. Yahweh we choose, we worship in spirit and truth. Stay focused, don't be a fool. Study to show thyself approved. Stay focused, it's like blood in my chest. The word manifested in flesh. Stay focused.